to another episode of Hobby Night School. We are super excited to have one of our favorite former guests join us again, Shai of Shaiwayvlogs, your favorite vlogger, my favorite vlogger, everyone's favorite vlogger, and he's got some new stuff going on today. So we thought he'd have him join us and kind of, update everyone.
Shai, what's going on, man? How are you? Where are you? Are you in New York, or are you over in Europe, or where the hell are you, man?
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Second time around. I'm in New York City now. But yeah, I've already booked a few. I already booked the trip this week for a card, so it's gonna be looking like one of those weeks. But I'm in New York City right now.
I'll tell you what, the last like 12 to 18 months, I like the older I get, the more like I curate my hobby experience. Like I only want to consume like either cool cards or something that, usually entertains me or makes me laugh. I always find myself going to your page to see where the hell you're at or what you're doing, because you tease it a little bit and then you're in the other part of the world. Then you come back, you show an awesome card, then you selling a card. And like the way you operate is very appealing to me. And so, just on a personal level, your page has been a fun follow for me. I just thought I would share that in a weird, uncomfortable, awkward way.
No, thank you. I appreciate that you guys are following the journey. It's definitely a different one than others. I don't know. Everything I've done in my life was a little bit different. This is just coming out as is, just is. Nothing's really planned. And some of the times when it's like just a tease, it's because like some of these cards are really rare and scarce. And I know a lot of people that also want them. And so it's just a matter of sometimes getting it fast, first, early. Something I kind of learned from Spinatron, actually. That guy, how the hell does he have everything? He's like, his thing was early. He was like, dude, I was just like really, really early as soon as he came out. That's how and he's been doing it for like 20, 30 years or whatever. So, I kind of, and then things appreciated. So it just looks more massive than what he got it for. You know what I mean? So.
Sure. It looks from an outsider's perspective that, at some point in the past, you and Mark from Empire State Sports Cards started going in on some cards together, which I'm sure yielded some positive results, which brings us to Fund Your Cards. How did that relationship start with Mark? And, is this something that the Fund Your Cards is something you guys been talking about for, some time, or how did that come to be?
Great question. So Fund Your Cards. It's a new venture that Mark and I started to help collectors consolidate their cards into their dream grail cards that they really, really, really want. They really, really, really love. So now getting into the like how we kind of started. So I've kind of always joked around like, hey, if you see a card, just get it now, worry about it later. But what the hell does that mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, obviously we want this card now, but the fine print is, like if you see a card, for example, on running on auction that you haven't seen, and you definitely know this is like the piece, for everyone has their own little personal grail piece. It could be whatever. But they just don't have the funds, for example, but they know they have so many cards that they just don't really that care about it as much, or just like, it's just part of just placeholder. So you can use those cards. So we can basically buy it for you, like, right away, if it's auction, whatever price you'd want to go up to. And then you would then consolidate whatever cards you have with us. And the fee would be 10% over like the price they buy it for. So for example, hypothetically, if a card's 100K, we all in, for example, on an auction house, then you would keep sending us cards that reaches up to 110K. And if it goes over that, we actually refund you. So we give you, like, if we end up selling the cards you gave us for 115, we would actually give you 5K back. But if you would be short, then you'd be, adding on with more cards or cash. But the goal of this is to kind of like the timing thing, to secure the card ASAP, and then kind of like, let's figure it out. And it's the most transparent way. It's kind of like trading, but very transparent, where that you're only paying a 10% fee and then we do all the work behind the scenes to sell the card through consignment or store sales.
That is really, so you're doing basically a high-end trade like trade down for people. You buy the card and then you trade down into it for them. You sell the cards, and then plus or minus they either owe you the difference or
it's 110%. Yeah, so if the card is $100, you would give us $110 in any kind of cards. That's another thing. Like we'll take dollar cards, five. It doesn't matter because we'll just like literally auction them off, and then you can follow along. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of dealers won't take that, won't do that. So like that's where we kind of come in. You know, we put in like the work. We have like a good network of different auction houses and consignment rates that we have. Like for example, eBay, we can give 10% fixed. You know what I mean, on any item, any dollar amount, even $100 card. So things like that helps a lot in getting the cost low for you guys, and it isn't 10%.
What's the process like? How do you ensure that you don't go out and buy $100,000 card and that the person who's going to be sending you cards, how do you ensure that they have the cards or the assets to ensure that you guys are made whole?
Great question. So right when we launched, before we launched Fund Your Cards publicly, like on Instagram, we had it like privately. We had a few friends that were kind of doing this because they were high net worth people. So it's like vouch, kind of like vouched, but we've seen these collections. We've seen them on Instagram. Some of these people that we work with, you know, they're very well-known people. So like we're comfortable in taking on that risk. But if like, you know, somebody with like just made an Instagram account with zero profile picture, nothing, no post, and wants us to do buy this rookie card of a football player for, you know, $100,000, that would be obviously like a no. So like it's definitely a case by case study, and people that reach out to us always are like pretty reasonable, and they know what they want usually. You know what I mean? Like they know they already have their mindset on a certain card, so we just like help them along the way.
So this kind of reminds me, Jeremy, only like without obviously the trade down, of like when we wanted the P will and we had to like get like the whole background check with PWCC and get people to vouch for us and be like, yeah, these are solid people and, you know, they can bid on this auction. Only you're like sort of the reverse, where it's like, yeah, you know, these people are solid and you can, you know, buy this card for them and they're going to be good for it to
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, we buy the cards with our own funds. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like we're like, even God forbid, like somebody passes away, you know, we will be stuck with this card, you know, technically speaking. So
do you hold the card until they
yeah, until
okay,
everything's paid off. Yeah.
all right. So the faster they send you the cards for you to sell and the faster their cards sell, the sooner they'll have their grail in hand.
Yeah, exactly. And then once like a relationship builds, you know, some people are like, they just want the card so badly, you know, well, like if it's like 20% left of the amount, we'll just ship it out, because they're chasing another card after and then giving us another batch. Like that's what we've kind of seen. We have a couple of clients that kind of like just recur and just continue running it, just trying to get bigger and bigger cards.
So is this service like fully up and going? I know you guys have been like, you know, quietly teasing it. You know, you've posted very few. You've posted some awesome Messis and some Brady's that you've helped people acquire. Is this now open to the public? Or are you still like in a soft launch sort of mode?
Yeah, it's definitely open to the public. There's a lot of content that I've already shot with I think the Overtime crew and stuff, and I have my own stuff. So this week should be a lot of stuff coming out. So it is 100% open for business. And usually the busiest nights for us is like those premier auction ending nights and like the golden, you know, elite or whatever auction, like the big auctions. Like we have a lot of people that are like trying to see if they can, you know, get their grail on those nights, and we're bidding for them and stuff like that. So it's it gets those auction nights became like some serious nights for us, you know, overnights. It's like it really matters a lot because we're buying these cards for these clients, you know.
So here's another question now that you bring that up, because I didn't even think about it. Like for me, I was thinking you're going to acquire the grail from somebody that has it. It didn't occur. I didn't even think about the fact that you'd be actively bidding on like golden auctions and PWCC for people. So if like, say I have a card in mind that I want and it's $20,000. So now I know I'm going to owe you like $22,000 with the 10% or whatever. Is there a, like, do you have, if they're like, okay, I want this card, but if it gets to like, you know, 25,000, I'm gonna have to like not do it. Do you guys set limits?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Before we bid anything, right before we actually bid, we actually send out contracts. We already have contracts like all the cards that we've bought that we've kind of posted from like Golden and PWCC, from those auction houses, we've actually, before we bid, we sent out a contract with all the details, like what's the most you're willing to pay, basically. You know what I mean? So like what you said, if the card is, maybe you think it's worth 20, but then, you know, you're willing to go up to 22, for example, or 25, you know, for that case, we will send you a written thing. You would actually just sign and send it back out. And then it's like an okay for us to bid. So that happens simultaneously, because a lot of people, I realized that, you know, because it's so new, you know, we're learning along the way. Like that auction night, you know, like from May 26th, I believe, like it was a big night. And I realized that a lot of people kind of like later on, no, you know what, I'm done with it. But then it went to after hours or, you know, whatever. And then like 5 minutes left, I had to open up the tab again because I X'd out the screen because they're not after this card anymore, right? And then like I had to go back in, like they changed their mind. You know what I mean? Like they were like, you know, F it, you know, let's just go for it. So I was like, okay, that was like kind of thrilling. So it does happen. But yeah, we send out contracts beforehand to bid.
What is the estimated like time frame? Let's say like Courtney said, like, hey Shay, can you help us get this 20K card? It's ending next Sunday night. You procure the card. What's your expectation of us to get you, you know, $22,000 worth of cards?
Right. Usually it's around like 30 days, 30 to 45 days. You know, if things, you know, and the 45 is basically like if things doesn't get sold, it has to get relisted, for example, you know, more or less. But even if you came up to like, you know, 80%, like you're like $300 away, for example, you just want to close out the tab, you know, you can feel free just to close it out and send the funds just in cash or whatever, and then it could be closed out. So we're pretty flexible in that sense.
That was my next question. If I wanted to do, I bought a $20,000 card. I owe you 22. Can I do half in cash and half in card value?
Yeah.
Do you guys negotiate that out? Like if
Yeah.
it was like, say I had one big card for like 5 grand and then I had, you know, 17 grand the rest of the way in cash myself, would that be acceptable? Do you have stipulations on that?
Yeah. I mean, we're anything you give us, we're fine. Cash, cards, even if you have sneakers, you know what I mean. I'll send it to Props Team. I don't know. There's a lot of sneaker guys, you know what I mean. I don't. If you have watches, I don't get Rolex. I'll give it to like, you know.
Listen, I will sell you my card.
That's funny. Yeah, and I've actually done that. You know, it's funny you say that. I sold my car for cards like about 1.5 years ago, I think.
I remember.
A Mercedes. I remember.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's another question because now I'm like very intrigued by all of this. Say someone comes to you and they're like, I want this card, and you look at it and it's up for auction, like say somewhere like an eBay auction, not, you know, PWCC or Golden or, you know, whatever. And the price, maybe it's like even a buy it now versus an auction. And the price is just not aligned with the market. It's completely off. Do you coach your people who are asking for, like, you are gonna sell $25,000 worth of card for a card that's only worth like $9,000?
Yeah.
Is there like a limit where you guys, because say you do that and you don't sell the cards, now you're in a $20,000 loan for a $9,000 card. How does that work for you?
That's a great point, actually. That's part of like our risk tolerance risk department. We don't have a department, but it's just that
In my brain, the risk management part of my brain.
yeah.
What it means is when him and Mark are having a coffee.
That's the department, man. In a department house, yeah. So there is department. No, it's serious. But where were we? Basically, yeah, the card. So like, yeah, 100 for sure, 100%. We look at the card, and if it's overvalued, like even if it's like a card that we're not that familiar with, we can definitely get an idea if like, because like for example, you can have your friend. We already thought of like scams, you know, how we could get screwed, you know, because that's like, it sounds like pretty okay, interesting, but you know how you guys get screwed, like, you know, a friend could just give another friend, overvalue his card, make me buy for him. You know what I mean? Hypothetically, when overvaluing it, and then you can be stuck with it, like kind of what you said. So like we look at case by case, card by card, and you know we can get a pretty fair judgment. Like, you know, is it that way off? Like, is that a reasonable price to pay for a card? Like, you know, so we can make that judgment.
And I think that's very fair, because what you've seen with some of these other companies, they've given out loans that, quite frankly, I think anybody with a sound mind would have looked at and said, hey, we're over leveraged here. And there wasn't very good risk analysis done on the front end, and now they're in a situation where people are like, you can keep the damn card.
Yeah.
I want the money. So I'm glad for your guys's, future success that you are being mindful of what can happen with these cards. The question I have, and I just want to provide clarity because I know people who are going to watch this and they're immediately going to reach out and be like, I want to get this card. This makes all the sense in the world. That value of the cards, that's after it's sold, all the fees are taken, right? You're not agreeing to like, hey, this card's $400. You guys have to sell it first, or are you just assigning a value on the card when it's sent in? And if it sells for more, great. If it sells for less, you're the one that's screwed.
No, so for example, like Courtney's example, like the 20K, then you would owe 22. So you can give us dollar cards, $100 cards, whatever. We, sell them on auction, and then you guys can actually follow it, literally how much each card is being sold for, and then like the rates we discussed are like it's extremely transparent. So like you're never gonna be overpaying or underpaying. You know exactly what you're getting. Like it's for those type of people. It's not for everybody. Some people actually just have the funds, like I just don't even need this, but some people really really like want to trade up, and then they don't even know what to sell, what I mean, where to even begin. And some cards will do perform better in certain weekly or like this auction house versus eBay, so some are better on privately, because a lot of people have all these different types of cards. And speaking of according example, there was a card that we just somebody just reached out. It was a Justin Herbert Prism Flashback. It was on eBay for I think 5K OVO. Like the guy reached out to us. He wants that card 4,500. He really showed us his cards. He literally like called us, showed us. We saw he had vouchers. Like the guy was legit. You can just tell. Like he just really wanted that card, the Herbert. We made a deal. I bought it 4,500. Now he actually gave us like almost 5K worth of cards. So like we told him that like this is actually gonna be more like, and we're gonna be sending him like like $400 or $500 back. So it says that in the contract also. Like if it sells more, you'll be getting like we're not going to keep more than what we agreed for. Like,
And if it falls short, then
then
you
you
owe
would
the
have to
difference. You
add.
can
Yeah.
send more cards, or you
Yeah.
have to pay the difference in cash.
You can pay whatever is easier. Sometimes it could be like small amounts. So people just like to close it out with cash.
So the valuation is post sale of your cards, not
Yeah.
You're not going to be like
whatever
this,
it sells for.
right?
Yeah, whatever it sells for. We don't really care like the value. It's not like a traditional trade. Like, hey, like this card is we agreed to value at 500 versus that card, but then people could get screwed. Somebody could really win the deal if you value the card wrong. In those traditional trades. But here in this sense, it's very, very, very like there's no winners or losers. It's just like a very fair and transparent way. So it's like you can see exactly what you're paying.
Do you anticipate or expect to be doing this live in person at, let's say, the National? Like, hey, Shai, man, I was walking the show. There's this impeccable Patrick Williams. I missed it in Golden for 10K. It's 15. Here's my Zion case. You see I got it. Can we get under contract? Can we make this happen? Is that something you guys expect to do?
Definitely. We were actually thinking about that. Yeah, that was like, like you can go to, because we like the traditional way is like when a dealer sets up like those are the only cards you can work with. You know what I mean? What's in front of you, but that your card may not be in front of this dealer. So like here where we come in and you could just tell me like an MC's table, this card like MC wants for 10K. I want this card, but I have all these stupid slabs that I don't know what to do with, but MC doesn't want them. Hypothetically, this just as an example. I'm sure MC will take them, but whatever. He's a good dealer. But what there's it could be any dealer. So then you can just come up to us, show us what you got, and we could literally arrange something there. We'll buy that card for you, and then now it's like with us, which means, and we don't want that card. We're buying it for you, so you'll just trade with us and then go from there.
So awfully presumptuous on my part, but I would imagine that you and Mark have been in this space for a long time, and you guys have your own network of people and people that you have close relationships with. I would think that it might be advantageous to go through you guys in certain situations, because you might be able to procure the card for a little bit better of a rate than I would get if I'm a complete, unknown to somebody, but it's somebody that you've done business with several times. It's going to look out for you. Is that something that you guys would do if you can make it happen? Instead of 5K, you're able to get it for me for 4K?
Yeah, 100%. Our goal is definitely to like get you the best price. Like, like we don't want you to overpay, because this like the system that we have in place, it's like it's either you're gonna need it or you're not gonna need it. But if you're gonna need it once, chances are you're gonna need it again. Like it's just because you already had got the idea of like, hey, I want that card. Maybe we didn't get it because we lost on I didn't pay enough, because it's fine. You move on, look for another card. But the principle and the idea of people wanting, a bigger card, like a card that they don't have access to, it does help with us. And a lot of cards that we've gotten were private cards. Like the one that the first big one that we did with the MK Sports cards, the Gold Fusion, he traded 355 cards for one we took in that deal. And that's like one of Jordan's best cards, the die cut Jordan Gold Fusion from Clear Metal. So in that deal, like, by the way, big shout out to MK. He literally took care of us. You know what I mean? He was specific what he wanted. He wanted that card no matter what. And that card there's only 40 available. And I think like less than half are even actually like circling. So like that card was about to go to PWCC premiere. Like it was like a day or two day before. And that's why I kind of like posted that hint video of us working in the spreadsheet and doing all this stuff, because it was like rushed in a sense, because it was, if we didn't agree to, with MK, because we're buying the card for him and we're trading all those cards in, so like we wanted to make sure that we had to get the numbers straight with all the cards that we're getting in, and everything was going to be lined up correctly to equal that amount of the card. So that's why we're rushing. But that was one of the first big deals that we did that really kind of like showed other collectors that, hey, like this guy, everything went smooth. He got his happy card, we're happy. And how else, how like, I don't want to just watch other people get their grails. Like, how can I get my grail? You know what I mean? So it kind of like started that spark and interest. So yeah.
I see this as like, I'm intrigued because I see this as a service where we pay for grading on the front end, and we're pretty strict about the way we operate with our money. So if the money's not there, we don't overextend ourselves. So I could see a situation where it's like, hey, I know I've got, $5,000 to $10,000 worth of cards coming back in 2 weeks that I know that I'm gonna be able to flip easy, whether it's, story sale, Discord, drip, fire sale, whatever the case may be. But this card's ending this week. I could see this becoming part of normal routine where it's like, hey, Shay, can we, this is the card, this is what we're thinking, boom, boom, boom. You get the card, we get our cards back, and it's just it's another tool to manage your finances and your cash,
Yeah. No, totally. We'll gladly take that whole PSA sub in if you want that card now. You know what I mean? Like that's like, it's all graded, nice, very simple. You know what I mean? But I get it, your point. Like, yeah, that happens all the time. Like sometimes like so many big cards comes up for me, like, damn, I'm just not ready. It's not my time. So like makes your time come closer, to getting what you want. So yeah.
For the people that are watching this and they're like legitimately interested, what's the best way to reach out? Is it just DM you guys through the Instagram page? Is there a website or an email?
Yeah, definitely DM Fund Your Cards. We both have access to it, so either Mark or I will respond to it. Then feel free to reach out personally. Also, if you want, it's not a big deal. Also, yeah, those are the best ways, through IG. Like literally, we've done everything through IG. We're not really on TikTok and all those other platforms. It's good to be on it, I know, but for me, it's like if I could just focus on one. Jack of all trades, master of none. I guess, I don't know. It's just too much for me to go back and forth and all that. Then I get weird. Did I post this here? Did I not? Did I miss one? It's not aligned. So I'm like, what?
It's exhausting. So
yeah.
So are you guys processing these cards yourself? Just you? And
Yeah. We're processing these cards ourselves. Like tomorrow, we're actually in the morning driving to Golden to picking up a nice. When is this going to be aired?
Probably tomorrow.
So today, guys, yeah, we're going to Golden to pick up a nice one. I'll just tell you, it's a Kobe Gold Fusion. That one. So last week we did the Jordan Gold, and then a new client actually saw it and was like, dude, this is my Kobe Grail. It barely pops up. It was a PSA 7. It was on Golden. He had nice cards, did that. He already talked with us. We got the deal done. So now we already bought it. He already sent the cards in. So we're going to actually drop those off at Golden. Some we're going to give to eBay, some through PWCC, because he had all these different type of unique Kobe cards that require different type of audience, I guess, right? So yeah, we're doing that, picking it up. So that's like one deal. And that card, I think you can see that it's a public sale. I think it did like 50.4. So we got that car for him. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. And then Friday, I believe I'm going to Boston, and then Mark's going to San Francisco. Los Angeles. I'm sorry, to do another one of these deliver. So a lot of these people were realizing they want their cars delivered to them. And then we told them that, dude, you gotta pay for the flights, and they're like, they don't care. I'm like, okay, you know.
I mean, if you had a $50,000 card of mine, plus I got to see you, I'd be like, yeah, I'll take it.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Like, oh, like I had to fly Shay, we'll hang out, he'll give me my really awesome card, and then, you know, that sounds like a deal, man.
Yeah, you could definitely have that. That's yeah.
So, okay, I have another
question. How Beats creeping up on him at a Starbucks behind him and then texting him and having him look around confused.
What's going on?
Yo, well, that was the first time, right? I think the first time at the National, I think I was like at a Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or something inside.
Yeah, we're texting you. We're like, we're behind you.
I hate you. I hate you.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah. That was a good way to do it.
Oh, it's funny. So I have one more question, just because I feel like this would be something that I would wonder if I were doing this process with you. If I give you my cards and you're like, do you guys discuss where you're gonna sell each card? And like, do you, like, if someone's like, I absolutely don't want to sell my cards on like eBay because I just don't think that, you know, there's enough vision for this like big expensive card, or like, how do you guys navigate that?
Yeah, that's great. Like, usually bigger, high dollar, you know, value cards we usually send to like weekly or golden. But sometimes like unique cards, like some soccer cards or like some one-on-one cards, like we may even put it up on our own eBay for like 5 to 6 days to see if it's something happens. Like, we have done that all the time. Like, since day one, we've done that on some, like, if especially if a card has a very interesting, crazy patch. You know, I know like there are people that really pay up for, like, you know, nice color patches. So we can definitely test that up, see what happens, and then we can go from there. But yeah, we it's a consultation. It's like a concierge almost. So, you know, we walk you through it. Like, if you're not comfortable for whatever, like you're sure about something, yes, you have all the power. You can just tell us. Definitely don't send that there. You know, but usually clients just tell us, like, you know, they trust our judgment in that sense.
It's just like no different. We use a third-party grader in Michigan called TNT, and what they did is, like, because they grade with BGS, SGC, PSA, after they do their review, unless you're hell-bent because of whatever reason, like you want everything in a PSA slab, they might say, hey, Jeremy, we recommend this card for BGS because they've been more lenient on this, or this is PSA for this. I would imagine with you guys processing and moving, you know, so many cards, you want to get the most bang for your buck. So that way it's less work for you. We want to maximize what our cards sell for. So I think it, like, over time, and I'm sure you're already better than most, you're going to have an idea of like, hey, this card needs to go to this auction and this is why. And so I think just leaning on their expertise makes all the sense. You know, unless you have like a personal reason why you don't want to do business with a certain company.
I think it's cool too to put it up on your eBay, and like say you get like a P Will 1 of 1 and you put it up on your eBay and you don't really get any good offers, but then you're like, hey, I know that Jeremy and Courtney from Reckless, they collect P Will, and you reach out to the guy like, this is the end user for this card. This is going to be the person that's going to buy it. Maybe they didn't see it. Are you cool with me reaching out? Maybe you could do a direct deal, save yourself on fees. You know, when you have the like collection of people that, you know, that probably makes it easier for you as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like, we know a few people like that collect just auroras, you know what I mean, and color blast, and then like we know like a lot of the cards you see, like Exquisite Collector Tim, you know, that posts a lot of these cards, like, you know, Mark, like we're behind, you know, some of these cards, like the bigger ones, like we'll go half and half on them, or like Mark will get them and then like we'll sell them privately, like we won't even post them. So like, yeah, like a lot of these people, MK has been a long time buyer of our those little unique niche cards that we, you know, so we definitely know which clients want which type of cards. Like, we have an idea, and that helps a lot, like the network.
The last question I have for you, and this is probably the most important thing, are you having fun?
Definitely more stressed, actually.
But that's a
self-inflicted
stress that's going to like yield to happy times, right? You're enjoying what you're doing.
It's funny how I hesitated because I wasn't expecting a question like that. So self-awareness, right? But yeah, stress is It's probably first, but yeah, is it fun? Hell yeah. I mean, I love building something. That was the main goal. It wasn't like as much about like, like the money and all that stuff. It was more about like actually building, because I had like a drop shipping company, like, and I built like I've actually had a funny story if you want to know. I actually had a small little hobby company that I sold inside the hobby. So those cases that everybody has with the 3 rows, it's kind of like wide. It
Yeah.
looks kind of like a toolbox,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because it is actually a freaking toolbox. So I had a drop shipping. So I had the toolbox drop shipped, and the eBay was advertised as like a whole card thingy. You know what I mean? The margin was like pretty good. You double your money, and it just instantly sells. And you just copy and paste the address. So it's like one thing. So like me, like building something like a company, like from scratch or anything like that has like value and actually helps people. It's like that's like the biggest feeling that that I have. Like if somebody just reached out and like we close a deal on like even like a $5,000 card, that's like brand new human being. I have no clue who you are. You have no clue who I am. We don't even follow each other. But then you saw us and it worked out. Like I think that's cool. You know what I mean? Like that's what brings me like it gets me excited. Like, oh wow, like really like building something that's useful and like people are like happy with. So yeah.
I saw you post all this stuff up, and then I saw Cage say something like, you were creating a card loan company or something, and you wrote, "It's not a loan." And I was laughing because I'm like, "Well, what is it?" Because it was still when you were doing it new, and this is actually, and I don't say actually like I wasn't expecting this. It's so well thought out, and I think that I hope it's super successful because the idea of facilitating people getting their grails and also selling their cards for them to help them achieve that's
Yeah.
pretty like it's kind of altruistic, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
you hopefully make some money from it, but it's really
10%. It's very
fun.
straightforward. It's
Yeah.
very straightforward. Like there's no hidden cost, right? Like it's very, very straightforward. So that's the different part.
Well,
Yes.
fund your cards. Make sure you follow them. 10%. So we need volume here because Shay is a man of expensive tastes. He likes to gallivant across the world. You know what I mean? So let's buy some cards for these people, and we wish you nothing but health, wealth, and success, man. I'm very happy for you and Mark. And if we can ever support in any way, please do not hesitate to reach out. But congratulations, man. I'm happy for you.
No, I appreciate it. You guys are always since the early days, day one. Trust me, guys, when I say these guys were like rocking with day one. So like, yeah, I have a special place in my heart for you guys, you, Cage, and all those guys, like super, super day ones, like the early days. We went through the pandemic and all that stuff.
When we were all crazy and didn't know what the heck we were doing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We're still here in the hobby,
Yeah,
right? Still
yeah.
doing it. So like, we're really here, ride or die, right? Like
The
we're really,
hobby is alive. No, I'm kidding. All right.
You're
Well,
done,
it's
Mark.
been so listen, I am who I am. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you guys. Thank you so much, Shay, for joining us. We appreciate you. We will link all of this in the show notes so you can find him. And if you're not already, I don't know why, but just so that you can easily find him. And thank you guys all for joining us. Until next time, be safe, make good choices, and enjoy your collecting experience. Bye.
thank you. Bye.